Hello, investors. It's Don Vandenbord, Chief Investment Officer with Revere Asset Management. Today is Monday, May 20th, 5:04 p.m. Eastern Time, coming to you from St. Augustine Beach, Florida, with tonight's Revere Roundup Daily Market Insight video. Market state, we're in an uptrend. You can see on the trend gauge in the upper right of the screen, we've got the coveted 4 green arrows, which means market leadership, plentiful and acting well, and today was a very good example of that. And all 5 of the major indexes are trending above the 3 time frames that we track. That's the short-term 21-day moving average, medium-term 50-day moving average, and long-term 200-day moving average. So what happened today? The title of tonight's video is Monday is a WAN day. WAN is how people in the IBD community often refer to William O'Neill, WON. And today was a very typical day of how you expect the O'Neill system to act. You've got a market in an uptrend, then you identify the leading stocks in the leading sectors. And this was a very clear outperformance day for those types of stocks. Uh, the what just happened, I'm saying rotation into growth, leaders strong. The value half of all of the indexes across all the market caps, red today, but the growth half, very green. That's kind of the backbone of the system that we espouse here. Here are the final numbers on the day. Our 21 over 21 leaders list, we'll go through the new 21 for this week. Only 2 changes from last week. 17 up, 4 down, up an average of 1.36%. The big 8, a good day, up 2/3%. The RG8, this is our 8 growth ETF composite, up 0.5%. S&P 500 open flat, traded in a tight range, up by the end of the day, off the highs, but still up about 0.1%. Equal weight down about 0.1%. Here's where the outperformance was in tech, particularly semiconductors and software. NASDAQ 100 up 0.7. Equal weight NASDAQ 100 up 0.6. The Dow, the laggard today, down 0.5%. Mid caps up 0.11. Russell 2000 small caps up 1/3%. Global diversified 60/40 stock and bond just barely positive. In-house GROTECTION, the leaders did their job, up 0.77% on the day. Let's get into it. We'll start with a chart of the S&P 500. You can see we closed at the lows of the day. Let's go to a 15-minute chart, and really what we're doing is after this breakaway gap here, we're consolidating within this 53.25 range. On the downside, we had this spike low last Friday. So the downside 52.83. Again, another tight range day. 2 attempts to sell it off intraday. As I said, we did close near the bottom of the range, but within the range of the last 2 days, if you want to look at it that way. And after a strong move up, consolidation is what we need to see. Consolidation with outperformance by growth is even better. Let's go to the NASDAQ 100. Making higher highs today, up 0.7%. Flat base, a little bit of consolidation here over the last 4 days with a bias to the upside. That looks really good. Dow Jones Industrial Average, we said value lagged. That usually means the Dow is going to lag, and it did, pulling back below that 40,000 level, down 0.5%. Mid cap, S&P 400, just barely positive today, again in a tight range, trending above the 8-day exponential moving average, and the Russell 2000 in a 4-day tight consolidation here around that 2100 level. Let's go to the VIX, which had been extremely moving lower, extremely over the last 4 days. Closed near the lows of the day, still positive, up 1.3%. This low reading implies low volatility over the next 30 days. So really that is what we're seeing. Zero SUSDR, that's the US dollar, up on the day, not anything worrisome, basically holding above the uptrending 200-day moving average, below the uptrending 50-day moving average. And the strong dollar isn't hurting precious metals. Here you've got gold up 0.4%. GDX, gold and silver stocks, up 1%, putting more room between that breakout above the handle of that long cup and handle that we've seen, and silver pulling back from the highs of the day, but still up 0.66%. Bitcoin, this is the story today, showing some big strength, up 4.4% and blasting above this little 3-day consolidation that we had since we reclaimed the 50-day moving average last week. On the bonds, the broad bond index, bonds traded tight today, down 0.1%. That means yields on average slightly higher. The long bond down 1/3%. QIX, the yield on the 30-year up about 1/3%, and the 10-year yield up 0.38%. That's the inter-asset correlation chart portion of our show. Let's go to the tail of the tape. You can pause this. I'll hit the highlights. Investors Business Daily has had a course called Market School, and it was an attempt to quantify Bill O'Neill's rules. And part of the outcome from that, and I suggest going to investors.com and listening to Mike Webster, the market end of market report that he did on Friday. He, Justin Nielsen, and Charles Harris put a lot of work into this, and they get really excited when the power trend signal kicks on, and it did kick on today. And the results, if the trend continues from a historical standpoint, show the opportunity or the potential for some very strong moves higher. So when this gets turned on, it's something we track. We don't really talk about it a lot. But with Mike being back on IBD, it's certainly come to the fore, and he's been talking about it a lot. So we're very wary of it. And I remember this rule from one of the market school that I took 13 years ago, and those rules still in effect. So the power trend on is certainly a good thing for bulls. Day count up 10 of the last 13, 13 above the 8-day exponential moving average, 12 above the 21-day moving average. From a sector standpoint, gold and silver stocks, and then tech, the semiconductors and software are what outperformed today to the downside. K-Web, China took a little bit of a break. And then the value sectors finishing red. Energy, financials, discretionary, that's a growth sector, but Tesla was down and Amazon was down. So XLY is going to be down. Staples down, real estate down, banks, builders, transports, and retail all lower. Certainly more sectors down on the day, but the big weighting in tech carrying the indexes to mild gains, except for the Dow. Our portfolio, we bought Spotify, owned it before, got shaken out of it, regained strength today, took another dip back into it, and we added to Bitcoin, IBIT, the ETF that we're using, raising our adjusted beta from 1.44 to 1.52. Bottom line on the day, rotation from value into growth, leaders outperform. Let's take a look at some charts, and we will go right to 21/21 list for this week. And I've got 23 in here because we bought Spotify and we own IBIT. So the actual 21/21, just two changes from last week. We dropped CPNG, which is an Asian retailer, and because we bought PDD last week. So PDD replacing CPNG. And GEV, alternative energy. We have other alternative energy tickers in there. We replaced that with ERX, which is a broad oil ETF. Oil had a tough day today, but the setup is there with a tight stop if it doesn't work. So we are going to sort by strength on the day. If we own it, it's got the green flag over here. Let's kick it off with IBIT. I already showed that. Kava, own it, up 4% on the day, leading the 21/21, breaking above that 80 level. This has just been acting like a champ since Ted and Connor brought this to my attention with this break above this declining tops trend line and acting just like we want strong leaders to act. Abercrombie and Fitch breaking out of a flat base, just riding the 8-day exponential moving average higher, and look at the increase in relative strength. after putting in this base going back to the beginning of March. Micron, we own this, got a big upgrade today near the top of this cup base, up 3%. Nutanix, don't own this, breaking above, making higher highs now since this break out of the double bottom base. BRT, we own this, briefly poked its head back above 100 today, up 2.6% on the day. AppLovin, undercutting and reclaiming the 8-day. NVIDIA, we own this. The big event for this week is NVIDIA earnings after hours on Wednesday. That's going to have far-reaching impacts for a lot of stocks coming into the top of this flat base right now. Got a big upgrade today also. CCJ making a higher high after its breakout after a bounce off the 21-day. Spotify, this is what we bought today. Basically, right here is where we bought it. It pulled off the highs from early morning, but you can see that clear break above the shelf that it had been building for 2 weeks. Pure Storage making higher highs as well. Howmet continues to power its way higher. FCX started negative on the day. Nice recovery, up 1.2%. We own that. Carrier, we own this as well, bouncing off the 8. GDX, higher high, we own this. CEG, reclaiming the 8-day moving average, we own this. CrowdStrike, our biggest position, making higher highs. Down a bit after hours, about 2% after hours, as Palo Alto just basically met earnings and is down about 6% after hours. I guess the expectations were higher for it. Transmedics continues to ride the 8 EMA higher. EDD, which we added last week, continues to hold above the pivot. American Express, it's making higher highs, but relative strength is not following up on that, so lagging slightly recently. First Solar hit running into resistance near that 200 level. Goldman Sachs continues to just ride the 8 EMA higher. And the ETF that we added this week, ERX, pulling back, holding the 21-day on the pullback. Normally, oils, we try to buy them on weakness, not on strength. That's going to wrap it. As always, like to hear from you. The email is don@revereasset.com. The phone is 855-REAL-WEALTH. That's 855-732-5932. I appreciate all the kind words of people that saw me on IBD Live on Friday. Got a lot of people reaching out to us after that appearance, liking the fact-based, statistical-based approach that we take to the markets. And if you're interested in this, by all means, reach out to us. If you want to become a client, email my partner, Dan Stewart, dan@revereasset.com. Our flagship portfolio is named GROTECTION because it's designed to have a dual mandate, and that is to grow assets during uptrends, protect them during downtrends. Right now, we're riding this second wave after a mild correction, after a big rally up from the beginning of November to the end of March, about a month-long pullback during April, and now re-engaging to the upside, and we'll ride that wave, just raising our stops every day as long as it continues. And with that, I'm going to wrap it for Monday, May 20th. It's not how much you make in the market, it's how much of that you can keep. And with that, I'll wrap it up. This is Don Vandenbord with Revere Asset Management, telling it like it is. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.